My first offense, the one that led to me getting prison time, was burglary in the 3rd degree. I broke into a house. I was intoxicated, and the stupid thing about it, I didn't get anything out of the house. Actually, I only got a year for the crime. I ended up doing 8 months, and then I got out. And 3 months later, I broke into the same house again, the very same house.
Recidivism is much more complicated than you might think. It can be defined in many different ways, and I think some of the confusion about statistics surrounding recidivism has a lot to do with definition. It can mean simply returning to prison after a prior prison sentence. It can be more narrowly defined as a new arrest that returns someone to prison. It could be a technical violation of community supervision rules. So recidivism is what you define it as.
Because when I committed that crazy, horrendous, terrible crime that I committed 37, 38 years ago, I had no idea of what I was doing, other than the fact that I didn't value the man that I killed, because I didn't value myself. But had I learned to value myself early on, there was no way in the world I would have shot that man.
Nationally, the figures come in somewhere between 60 and 70% of those incarcerated.
And what about New York State?
New York State, actually, Governor Cuomo just came out with some announcements about a new educational initiative that he wants to do, and he cites a New York State recidivism rate of approximately 40%. Looking at that statistic more closely, the recidivism rate in New York State for the first year after release is at about 37.5%. And of course, then that rate goes up in year 2 and in smaller percentages in subsequent years.
It occurs because people who go to jail often don't have any options when they're done. So once they get out of prison, besides all the consequences of living in a hugely controlled environment, lots of violence, lots of isolation, lots of routine, to coming out to this crazy chaotic world we live in, very often they have a hard time adapting. Add to that few reentry programs that transit people from prison back into the community, and a community that really doesn't believe in serve your time and everything's forgiven. What we really like to label people felons and isolate them. We want to make sure that they stay out of the community.
So our responsibility is to change that reality. To let brothers and sisters in prison know that there's a community, there's a family, there's a society that cares about them, who is willing to make sure that they have the right things in the prison that will allow them to change and transform their lives so that they can come back out and make amends for their past behavior, no matter what that behavior was. That's restorative justice. That's the community, that's us taking responsibility. And when they come out from prison, to make sure that we have in place for them opportunities to continue their development and change and transformation.
And a lot of people feel that, you know, if you lock a person up, that's the end. And it's really not. It's really not, because people get out. You know, even people that have 25 to life, eventually if they live, they get out. And there has to be some kind of structure for them to come to that helps them transition back into society.
And I'm going to end it with what I always say. What do I always say? Power belongs to who? The people. Power belongs to who?
The people.
Power belongs to who?
The people.
The people. Who are the people? We are. We solve our own problems.